Shalom Aleichem. We are on page 17. If you might have an older edition. I don't know what page it is there. I think you minus 10, so that would be page 7. But for those of you who are on my edition, there are extra books in the box if you want to use them. On page 17. Maran wrote Shulchan Aruch. Tzarich lizaher. We must be careful from interrupting with speech from when you begin Baruch Shamar till after the Amidah, you're not allowed to speak. What does the Rama write in Rashi's script? And even for a mitzvah purpose, you should not speak between Baruch Shamar and Nishtabach. Page 17. Maran then says in Halachot Hey, Ben hamizmorim ha'elu shoel mipnei hakavod umeshiv shalom lechol adam. In between the chapters of Pesuke D'Zimra, so between the Tehillim, you ask someone Shalom Aleichem if they're a person who's worthy of respect, and you can answer to anybody. Uve'emtza mizmor, and in the middle of the Tehillim itself, Shoel mipnei ha'ira umeshiv mipnei hakavod, you only ask if it's a fear-based reason, and you answer out of respect. This really doesn't have so much practical application for us, though it will. How so? When it comes to saying Kaddish for a parent, there's a mitzvah to respect one's parents and have awe, fear from one's parents. So the question is, when discussing if Kaddish is in order to respect parents, can the need to respect someone push off the obligation not to talk during Pesuke D'Zimra or not? That's when the difference between kavod and ira is really going to come into effect in terms of how we learn this section. Let's look at the bottom of page 17. אסור להפסיק בדיבור בדברים של חול מתחילת ברוך שאמר עד סוף 18, ואף אחר שסיים ברכת השתבח קודם שהתחיל בברכת יוצא אור אסור להפסיק בדיבור. It's forbidden to talk mundane matters in the middle of Pesuke D'Zimra until the end of the Amidah. And even if you finished Yishtabach, now you're after Yishtabach and before Yotzei Or U'Bor Choshen. So you're at the end of Pesuke D'Zimra and you're before the blessings of the Shema. It's also forbidden to speak there, even though that's really a separate section of the Tefillah, but they belong together. On page... So you notice he said Divrei Chol. Now he's going to say in 18, Im siyem bekat Baruch Shamar kodem shisayem hashaliach tzibur. If you finish Baruch Shamar before the Chazan finished. Now this could only work in a Sephardic community. Why Ashkenazim? They say it quietly. Everything's quiet. Here, you're saying, Baruch Shamar ve'aya olam, and the Chazan ends the bracha, you're already done. You sped up a little bit. And he says, can you answer Amen? Or is Amen on his Baruch Shamar an interruption in your Pesuke D'Zimra? Afilu adayin lo itchil b'amirat הזמירות, עונה אחריו Amen. You can answer Amen. וכן רשאי לענות Amen אחר ברכה ששומע מחברו. You can also answer Amen after a blessing you hear from your friend. בכל שכן, אם התחיל באמירת פסוקי דזמרה, שרשאי לענות Amen אחר ברכה ששומע מחברו. How much more so once you already start the Pesuke D'Zimra, that you can answer Amen of a blessing that you heard from your friend. Why would it be worse to say it between Baruch Shamar and Pesuke D'Zimra as opposed to in the middle of Pesuke D'Zimra? Meaning, why would he say it's okay to say it even between Baruch Shamar and let's say for us, what would be the next Tehillim you'll say? So you come. No, you come Shabbat morning to the Beit HaKnesset, right after Baruch Shamar. Mizmor Shir Neyom HaShabbat. So before Mizmor Shir, he says you can say Amen. You can even say Amen over there, as opposed to the middle of the Tehillim, which you can say Amen to. Why would between chapters be worse than before it, than in the middle of a chapter?
In the middle wouldn't necessarily be hefsek. It's still one whole chapter.
You're doing a hefsek on the Tehillim. But in the first case, you're making a hefsek between the blessing on Pesuke D'Zimra and starting Pesuke. So it would be like saying a blessing of Shakol and answering Amen before you drink, as opposed to once you already drink. that kind of concept.
So the kavanah of Rosh Hashanah really is for the whole section.
It's the pre-blessing of Pesuke D'Zimra, such as Yishtabach is the ending blessing of Pesuke D'Zimra.
That's really interesting looking at.
It's very similar to Hallel. Hallel has a blessing at the beginning and Yihalucha at the end. And those two are actually, they're like bookends of the.
So all these years I never learned that. It makes perfect sense.
That's what it is, and that's why that's one section. Like, basically, a section began, a section ended, and then Shema does the same thing. You have the blessings before and the blessings afterwards, and then the Amidah has the same thing. The Amidah has the 3 blessings at the beginning, the 3 blessings at the end, and all the middle blessings, which is why you can add your own prayers to the middle blessings, but not to the first 3 or the last 3, because those are bookends. Those are stable. They can't be shaken up. And the tefillot are usually broken up this way. The same way that Arvit. Arvit starts with blessings of Shema, ends with blessings of Shema, and then you have the Amidah. And then really once you end the Amidah, tefillah is over. Everything we do afterwards are additions. They're not saying you don't do them, but they're additional to what that is. So Baruch Shama, Mikol Makom B'di'avad. This week I saw a Sephardic rabbi write B'di'evid. Now I know Ashkenazim say B'di'evid. Why? The vowels are not so strong in this one. But for Sephardim, come on. Bidi Eved doesn't mean anything. I don't know. Bidi means you had a slave named Bidi. Bidi Eved, like a little Bidi Eved. You have here Bidi Avad. What does Bidi Avad mean? No. When you say something is the Chatchila or Bidi Avad. The Chatchila means... To begin with, you can do X, Y, or Z. What does Bidi Avad mean? How does it translate?
When you don't have a choice,
When you already made consequently.
Oh, he did it.
Yeah, thank you, Marlene. Bidi Avad. You already did it. Meaning after the action. Why do I say after the fact? Bidi Avad, and they have like fancy a priori, la fortiori, I don't know these words, but they use these fancy words. I don't know. Bidi Avad means Bidi Avad. Shukfa Avad. You already did it. Bidi Avad means something already happened. If something already happened, then let me give you the example. Are you allowed to add pig to your chicken soup? Hopefully you all are saying no, right? Hopefully.
No.
Yeah, so are you looking for a cup? Up there somewhere should be cups, right? Both
Yeah.
But if it happened by accident...
2 more to your left.
But what if, if you put it inside, or if it falls into, you didn't put it there?
Right. The Chatchila means, if you ask the rabbi, can I flavor my chicken soup with some pig? He says no. But what if it's less than 60? Still no. What if it's less than 100? He says, B'di Avad though, it's okay. What does B'di Avad mean? B'di Avad, if it already happened, not intentionally, it happened, then the situation is B'di Avad. B'di Avad means that if it got mixed it fell into the soup, you didn't mean to...
It wasn't a whole, and it wasn't...
Very good, it can be a whole pig. A whole pig is not batel even in... Ever. A whole animal, a whole bug, a whole anything is never batel. It's a rule in halakha. Yeah. It's a big pot of soup. Thank you, Achanan. So what do you have? A B'di Avad situation. So bitul b'shishim only works in a B'di Avad, meaning only after a fact happened. Now what happens?
They always tell you B'di Avad is like when you had no choice.
Right. So you can't l'chatechila do something B'di Avad. Literally B'di Avad means you're not able to do it B'di Avad. The word maybe is borrowed on Derech Hashanah from people use the word B'di Avad to mean if you have no choice, do it. But that's not the word B'di Avad means. If you're not allowed to do it, you can't do it. Now, what happens? There are certain things.
In modern Hebrew, we say B'di Avad like we don't have any choice.
Yeah, that's because, like I told you many times, modern Hebrews don't know how to speak Hebrew. So now, when they laugh, that's the truth. So I don't know what to say.
We can argue later.
Nothing to argue. Who are the experts in Israel about Hebrew? The institution that is entrusted with the Hebrew language.
Academia Leivrit.
Academia Lashon Ivrit, right? They're the Academy of the Hebrew language. You notice they couldn't come up with the Hebrew word for the word academy? They have Hebrew words for everything. What's the Hebrew word for a TV?
Television.
You know?
Must.
Like what's the Hebrew word for a movie theater?
Kolnoa.
Kolnoa, which means
Kol v'noa, a voice that moves.
a moving voice. So what is a TV?
Manotan.
You know what? For tomorrow, you're going to look up from me what the Academy of the Hebrew language calls a television. Come back. They came up with the Hebrew word. Very good. You heard? Say it again.
Noah.
Yeah. They ever heard anybody use that word? If you would go right now into Israeli version of Best Buy and say, you want to buy a Re'eh Noah, they would look at you like, I don't know which planet you came from, but we don't sell those here. Yes? Because they come up with Hebrew words for everything except for their own name. I don't trust them with the Hebrew language. So, back to B'di'avad. There's one time, you want to talk about Bitul? There's one time where you're allowed to intentionally do Bitul B'shishim. It's a trivia question. When can you add something Yeah, say what's the... Very good. Tell me the halakha.
לפני פסח בטל בשישים, אז הוא לא חמץ.
Yeah, you know this halakha? Chametz on Pesach, if you, God forbid, have a crumb of bread, a crumb, fall into a huge pot of soup on Pesach, what is the status of the soup? Chametz, but it's only a little crumb. Afilu be'elef lo batel. Chametz is not nullified even in 1,000. But what happens if this happened 2 days before Pesach? You were making the soup for the Seder, and I don't know, your child threw their cookies in the air, and a little piece of chametz landed in your soup.
בטל בשישים.
It's batel b'shishim, maybe not even shishim. Why? Chametz before Pesach. Can you eat chametz before Pesach? It's not a prohibited thing. And therefore, once it's batel, on Pesach, for sure you could have it. But wait a second. Can you intentionally have chametz in your food before Pesach?
No, you have to eat it before Pesach then.
Yes, it's before Pesach.
No, you're going to make a chicken soup for Pesach. Can you have some chametz in your chicken soup before Pesach?
Not intentionally.
I'm asking if intentionally, can you have chametz in your...
No, you have to eat it before Pesach.
None of you read... Marlene, you edited my book. What do you mean didn't read my book?
Intentionally is... If it's unintentional...
Which prohibition do you violate by having chametz in your chicken soup before Pesach that you're going to eat on Pesach? Which prohibition did you violate?
Before Pesach?
None.
But it's already nullified, so it's not there. So now Pesach comes. It's still batel. So what did you do wrong? Nothing. So...
Oh, okay. Before Pesach.
Yeah, you're right.
So let me give you the practical case where this is important. Yeah, so a case where it's important.
Yeah.
What if you know that for whatever reason, you're not going to have access to a kasher le-Pesach kitchen? Let's say, I'm just going to make up a situation. Pots, pans, all these things, you're not going to have them kasher le-Pesach. A great example? Let's say you're landing 24 hours before Pesach starts, and there's not enough time to kasher all the utensils by waiting 24 hours. So you have now only chametz pots and pans. Can you cook with them on Pesach?
Maybe rub them with
No. You can't use a chametz pot on Pesach. Correct? But you can use a chametz pot before Pesach to make all of your Pesach food and then eat it on Pesach. Because it doesn't matter that there's chametz inside of that pot before Pesach. It's okay. Which is exactly the reason why Sephardim don't need any food for Pesach to be specially supervised that it was made without chametz. If they make jelly, I don't know, strawberry preserves in a pot that sometimes they make, I don't know, chametz in it. The fact that you bought today strawberry preserves and it has trace amounts of chametz that you'll never find because they're only in the pot. You're allowed to eat those strawberry preserves on Pesach without any concern.
Does that mean the water bottle were really not?
That's what happens when you're born in Kehillat HaShamayim. It's a problem. They mess with your head over here. But this is black and white Shulchan Aruch. So there is a time you can do bitul lechatchila. There's one more time. There's one more time where you're not doing the bitul, but your lechatchila is always b'di'avad. Tonight is the night of riddles. Come on.
I like riddle.
Maybe if a non-Jew cooks for you.
Very good. If a non-Jew makes food, and there was a problem of bitul, meaning they made food. I'll give you a scenario. They made food in a non-kosher pot. You go to the farmer's market. The guy made his salsa. Can you buy salsa from Goyim? Yeah, but they cook the salsa. How do you eat it? Because can you eat tomatoes raw? Yes. Can you eat onions raw? Can you eat cilantro raw? Can you eat jalapenos and serranos raw? So what's left in this? Depends who you are, right? I can't eat them raw or cooked or anything. I can, but depends who you are. Yeah. All of those things have no problem of bishul goyim. Correct? Yeah, all of them. So now what's the issue? Are his pots and pans? Yes, that's his problem. Now let's assume that most people in the market, when they make salsa, this is their salsa pot, especially when it's in a professional setting. But let's pretend he sometimes makes pozole with ham over there. Sometimes it happens. There's some leftover salsa. He says, well, I pour it all in here. We're going to boil it together. Good. Tomorrow he'll clean it. He'll make new salsa. Can you ask him to make salsa in that pot for you? There's going to be enough salsa to counteract the ham that is in that pig, whatever, is in that pot. There's enough, yes? But can you ask someone to do that for you?
No.
No. You cannot ask a non-Jewish person to do bitul for you. Yes? But what if he went ahead and made salsa anyways? And now he's selling it at the farmer's market again. That salsa, is there ham in it? It was made in a ham pot.
That's 24 hours.
No, it's been less than 24 hours.
It's nullified.
It's nullified in 60. Can you taste ham in there?
What if you could?
You can't.
It
So,
would be lifgam, because that's not what he wants.
I didn't even go there. I didn't even go
accidentally.
there. Right? No, but not accidentally, you understand? B'di'avad doesn't mean accidentally. B'di'avad means it already happened. He already cooked the salsa in the pot without asking you. Now he's selling you the salsa. The situation of you buying food in a grocery store is always a b'di'avad situation. It is always after something has happened. In a b'di'avad situation, lechatechila, you can buy that salsa. Understand how this works? His secondary, less than ideal situation has created an absolutely permissible situation for you. This is how halakha works. Now you're right, if you go to a restaurant, you can't ask him to make you salsa in the back using his pasola pot, because that will be you asking him to do bitul for you. What's the difference? L'chatechila versus b'di'avad. This is always the difference.
So pre-made sushi, it's okay.
No, it's not. We already went to sushi, remember? Right. No, you can't. No. The rice, you can't eat rice that was cooked by somebody non-Jewish. I'm not going to help you. Other people want to ask me about sushi.
Look how the sushi.
I'll tell you, I'm a believer in people being honest. Rabbi Heschel wrote a book on the Kotzker Rebbe. The Kotzker Rebbe said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu prefers an evil person, a rasha, who says he's evil and is honest about it, than a tzaddik who pretends he has no evil inside of him. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need tzaddikim, he only wants honest people. If a person tells me, listen, Rabbi, I keep kosher, but yeah, I like sushi. So I know that eating sushi is a violation of a rabbinic law. I'm going to eat it anyways. Great! So you, like everybody else, stand in line of people who do averot. The only person I can't handle is the one who's going to try to convince me that eating the sushi is somehow okay. Don't convince me it's okay. Just convince you. I'm convinced that we're not all perfect. I also do averot. You think you're the only one who does averot. But the only difference in you and me, I don't think my averot are mitzvot. That's all. You don't have to sell me your avera as a mitzvah. You can just do whatever you need to do and just be honest about who you are. All of us are not perfect. Yeah.
Rice.
Right.
Something that we can eat raw, right?
We can eat it.
It's okay.
You're going to try to convince me now that you can eat rice raw.
No, because like in Mexico, it's very common common, the horchata drink.
Yes.
This is a fresh.
David is gonna start drinking this.
And they use raw rice to make that cold drink.
Or if you sprout the rice.
So can that be considered as rice can be eaten or drinking raw?
Yeah, but
If that's the case, and then is it permissible now? Because
No. Because soaking things is also a method of preparing them.
so it become cooking? No.
but
Maybe not. Maybe not.
raw.
Let me ask you.
What about sprouting?
You could tell me that if somebody not Jewish soaks the rice for you, you could eat it.
Yes,
But it's not, yes. You can convince me that the horchata, you can drink it,
what
even though it
about-
has rice. You just can't convince me that now when the Michelin chef makes you rice in his kitchen, that rice, it's not the same rice.
Why?
It's not the same reason why when you eat, if you were going to eat that rice that is soaked, which bracha are you going to make on it?
I mean, it's a drink.
Okay. You go to the store and you buy rice cakes. Some people like those things. You go buy rice cakes. Which bracha do you say on a rice cake? What's bracha on rice?
Mezonot.
Mizonot.
Shakor.
Mizonot.
Mezonot, rice.
Is there any question whether rice is mizonot? No. Rice is mizonot. Period. The Talmud ruled 2,000 years ago, rice is mizonot. I know that some Hasidim didn't get the memo. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they got the memo or not. The memo was sent out 2,000 years ago. Rice is mizonot. Okay? Mizonot. Amen. Amen is the orez, mizonot, and nefashot. That's the order of rice. Now, you have rice.
Rice cakes.
Rice cakes. Which bracha do you say on rice cakes?
I don't eat rice.
Shakol.
Mizonot.
No, Mizonot.
Is rice, how do they make rice cakes?
Puffed.
They puff it, right?
Yeah.
They puff it up.
Delicious.
Is puffed rice the way they usually cook rice?
No.
And therefore the blessing is Borei Pri Ha'adama and not Borei Min Mizonot. Because it's not cooked in the way that it's usually cooked.
But it's שינה צורתו, למה לא שהכל?
That's if you're Ashkenazi. If you're Ashkenazi, then anything that doesn't look like what it used to look like, you change it to bracha. But what can I do? The Torah was given on Har Sinai. And therefore, when something, you know that it's rice? You look at rice cake, you know it's a rice cake? What are the ingredients in a rice cake?
Rice.
Rice, salt,
Yeah.
what else? If there's anything else in your rice cake, you shouldn't eat it. Rice and salt, what goes on a rice cake? How much salt is there compared to the rice?
Minuscule amounts.
So the majority here is rice? What is the question? You're eating rice. Borei Pri Ha'adama. Applesauce. You eat applesauce. So they made it into sauce, so now you don't know what it is anymore? Applesauce is Borei Pri Ha'etz.
אבל זה משנה צורתו זה לכולם, אני חושב, לא? זה משהו שהוא...
No, Shulchan Aruch.
זה לא משהו...
No. Ashkenazim, they say that once you change the shape, it's already changes blessing.
אני לא גדלתי כמו אשכנזי, אבל תמיד חשבתי שמשנה צורתו זה שהכל.
Look, Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch that if you take a date, what is the blessing on a date?
It's
Borei Pri Ha'etz. Now, what if you take it and you moech the date? What blessing? Maran writes Borei Pri Ha'etz. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you smush the date. Maran said, what if you now add sugar to this and you make a syrup out of it, some kind of jam?
It's always supposed to be. Why would you? Yeah, sure.
Is that sugar and water?
Because it's a fruit of
like cold to Newcastle.
As long as there's more date than sugar, you say Ha'etz. By the way, what blessing on sugar? You say Shakol, but some say Ha'etz on sugar.
They cannot be cane.
Sugar can't be high.
You never went to Hawaii and ate some sugar, or Mexico and ate some sugar cane? The thing is a
It's like a giant.
Bamboo sugar.
Yeah, bamboo.
But you can also make it from beets, a commercial.
Yeah, no, not that kind of sugar. Zev's right. You can also make it out of corn, Zev, but you're going at it. But soon you can make it out of recycled plastic. Who knows what it's going to come for next?
It's already half recycled.
Yes? What I'm telling you here is that there are things that you need to know in terms of halachot, or rice, brachot. Just be honest about your avirot. I'm okay with it. When people convince me they eat cheese, okay, good. So say you violate the words of Chachamim. You do it anyway. It's okay. I'm not telling you it's okay to break the Torah, but it's better that than lying. When you lie, then also you're...
At what point do the rules get reevaluated as far as what is Orach Shulchan Aruch?
All the time. I just fought with this Rabbi Berdugo this week. Things can constantly change in terms of how food is. So I'll give you an example. The example that I fought about this week. Quinoa. I wanted to buy prepared quinoa this week. And when I was growing up, Zev introduced my family to quinoa. Okay? Yeah, Zev introduced my family to quinoa many. I was growing up eating quinoa. Okay? Now, the New Yorkers discovered quinoa like in 2010. I don't know, like something happened over there, and then a year later it became chametz. But for 1 year, it was discovered in New York. And today, quinoa is served in like very high-end restaurants, side dishes, I would argue that when I was a kid, if a non-Jewish person made quinoa, you could eat it because only us weird Californians were eating quinoa. In the White House, they would never serve quinoa. And I don't know what they serve in Buckingham Palace, but in an important wedding, they would never serve quinoa. Today, that's not the case anymore. Today, this is already considered a quality food that people know about and they eat them. In which case, today, one could argue that quinoa has to be cooked by Jewish people, because it's now oleh al Shulchan Melachim, something which it wasn't many years ago. It doesn't matter. Melachim is like an important, think of a wedding. And not a wedding of like your buddies from college, like a wedding, like a real wedding. Tell me about fried potatoes.
No, you're not going to put it on a Melachim table, not in my wedding.
In Buckingham Palace, they're not allowed to eat French fries. It's against the law. There's stories about the princes sneaking out of the palace to go eat French fries, fish and chips, and come back. There are poskim who say that French fries, let's call them that, because they fried potatoes, because they come in a number of different contexts, would never be served at a wedding. And even if they would, it would be like the same wedding that's serving hamburgers. That doesn't count as a wedding food.
Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't practically serve these French fries.
What's the shawarma?
Yeah, in Israel you see French.
Shawarma's a chicken.
It's a street food. All street food then, according to what
No,
you're
but
saying.
you would serve shawarma at a wedding.
Huh?
You would serve shawarma at a wedding.
Maybe only in America because it's not common.
No, you could argue, by the way. Don't tell me about shawarma. Talk about falafel. Would they serve falafel at a wedding in Israel?
No.
Not a chance in your life. But in America, they might, actually. In America, they might serve you falafel balls with pitas as appetizers. They think it's very Israeli. Very Israeli. When I went to South Africa, people were buying these pre-made falafel balls for their Shabbat meals. Like, they think they're the most Zionist Jews in the world because they eat falafel for Friday night dinner. Never in the life of an Israeli did they hear of eating falafel for a Friday night dinner. It just doesn't happen. Yeah? And so you could argue that in Israel, you might be able to eat falafel made by Arabs, but in America, it could be this different. It depends on where you're at. These halachot can change not just in terms of generations, but also in terms of places. So we mentioned rice. In China, I don't know if it's true, I wasn't there, but they say that poor people in China eat rice, but the wealthy aristocrats don't eat rice. Rice is for peasants.
So what about pizza?
What about pizza?
Pizza, you're not going to serve on the king's table.
But you don't need it. Pizza can be eaten, everything here is fine. The bread can be baked, a lot of bread from goyim. So what's left? Cheese? Cheese is fine. The goyim can melt cheese for you. You eat cheese without...
So, but is the problem with
the salami and the pepperoni.
Oven
That's...
they cooked before something? It's also what the Roshishim.
No, you just
No.
have to make sure the cheese is kosher.
The cheese, if the cheese is not kosher, how are you going to get kosher cheese in a... Where are you going to get kosher cheese in a pizza store from? The man said the pizza has to be kosher, but technically, if you'd go to some place that uses kosher cheese,
If you go to the Balboa International Home, they'll make you pizza without the cheese.
that's not what he's talking about.
No, but yes.
No, that's not what he's talking about. Meaning the pizza place, if you can get them to have kosher cheese, the pizza would be fine.
Where are you getting them kosher cheese?
Maybe they'll get kosher cheese, who knows?
If you bring it with you, right?
Oh, look, a vegan cheese could be a...
But they're baking it in an oven that you have. They've had the non-kosher
20 years.
then.
Marlene says they're baking it in an oven. Rabbanim, I didn't see what time it is. They're baking it in an oven that has
Pepperoni.
non-kosher cheese in it. Or pizza in it, or pepper. Have you ever touched a pizza oven before?
It's very hot.
But you want fingers, you don't.
The oven koshers itself every second. All the time. The worst thing you could tell me is that maybe they're there at the same time. Even then, Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch, Kuf Chet, chapter 108, if you read that, Maran writes that you're allowed to have even kosher meat and non-kosher meat in the oven like that, barbecue, you can have them together there. Not in the same place.
But what if the cheese?
Not in the same place. I'm not talking about pigs right now. Not in the same place.
What if they melt
Yeah,
on
he's
each
talking
other?
about non-kosher.
Rama writes that in Ashkenaz they used to smear the the bars of the bakery with lard. And they would take the bread out. And he says the minhag was not to eat that bread. You heard what the Rama said? The minhag was not to eat that bread. But the halakha? But when they add pig to your... Let's say you get a pizza, and there's... I don't know what they put on the pizza. What's pepperoni? What's it made out of?
Pepperoni is pig.
It's pig? Yeah? So pepperoni. You want pepperoni flavored pizza?
No.
Rama says in Shulchan Aruch and Kuf Yud Daled, Maran writes that if you go to a store and you want to buy vinegar, and the vinegar is in a barrel, but the barrel is coated with pig fat inside to make sure it doesn't leak, can you buy that vinegar?
Yeah.
Yes. Why?
Because you don't want the flavor of the
Because pig fat is noten tam nivgam. You don't want the flavor of pigs in your food. It makes it have a bad flavor for you. So because of that, it's considered pagum. Something that is pagum, it doesn't need to be nullified. It's already the fact that it's kind of like you can buy honey, even though it has bees in it. Because even if you could, some say bees don't give off taste. Okay, but let's say they did, you would never want bee-flavored honey. And therefore it's pagum. Many of the things that people say, oh, behind every factory is lurking a Porky the Pig and he's there to throw himself into your food. Even if that was the case, likely that would never be a problem, not just because of the chatechina and b'diavad, but like you mentioned earlier, because of pagima, because you don't want that flavor. You don't want that here, and therefore it's not considered a problem in terms of halakha. But what will be, if we teach Shulchan Aruch to everybody, then many rabbis will lose their jobs, because all of their kosher organizations will go bankrupt because you won't need them. And so it's very important that people should perpetuate not studying Shulchan Aruch so that you can fulfill the mitzvah of tzedakah and give a lot of people who don't deserve it a lot of money. B'ezrat Hashem. I wish you a wonderful night.